Welcome back, my name is Benji. Today I want to welcome you to a brand new game on the channel, the Cyclist Tactics. It is a new game, a brand new cycling game, recently released on Steam that is about cycling. So yeah, I'm very hyped to play it. For a good year and a half now, I've been following the development of this game and I've really enjoyed the stuff I've seen so far. I played it once on this channel before actually, and I enjoyed it. So I'd love to get into it now that it's actually out, and therefore I'd like for this video to be the start of our career mode. Now, I've seen some stuff from the game before, but I have not played it too much, a few hours at max, which means that I don't necessarily fit in the category of veterans that need a tough challenge. I'm most likely most fitting into the easy category, but why would I pick easy? That's for rookies. I'll go for normal and probably regret it completely that I didn't pick easy, but hey, that's how we start. Career starts off with our team setup. We have to set up our team, and then afterwards we have to build our season appropriately according to the team we have made. Now, the first part is making your first rider, which is basically yourself. So let me name my rider quite simply Benji Nassen, because I'm so bloody creative, you know? There we go, we've got our name and we've got our team name, the Gruppetto, because quite likely our team's gonna be the first one to drop from the peloton every single day. I decided to also select my colors and my actual region that I'm from. This game plays itself in a very fantasy world, so we've got regions like Arcana, Daluha, Gazmea, Frunia, and Hedvesia. I'm going to start off in Arcana and our rider as well, because obviously I'd like to start off in a local team in my local region when growing up as a rider, so I feel like it fits if my rider has the same territory as my team. Now that we've done the aesthetics, the most important question arises. What specialization is our rider going to be? What is he good at? On the left, you can see that we can spend one specialization point on a type of terrain. We've got flat, mountain, downhill, sprint, deck plus cobble, or time trial. Now, this will influence the traits of a rider on certain races. First of all, we've got normal, regular races, and based on what we invest points into, we will become better and or worse in certain areas. Additionally, we also have the same for time trials. By default on time trials, the game has us at +1 when it comes to the flat terrain, -1 for tech, and -1 for cobble. Now, cobble time trials aren't exactly the thing that I'm looking for, so my goal for the series is going to be becoming the best stage racer in the world, the rider that can win the Tour de France in real life, for example. There is an in-game equivalent of that. I think it's a Tour de Gazmea, but I'm not 100% sure of that. Nonetheless, the focus in specialization then needs to lie on mountain and time trial as well. So first of all, my focus starts with mountain. We invest a point in that and we get two modifiers, a +1 on both the race trade of mountain and the time trial trade of mountain. So that should be fun. On the right of these specializations, we can see what those specializations will mean for us in the race and in the global competition we are fighting in the amateur league. Now, when it comes to the middle thing, the speed on different terrains, this shows something related to the in-race mechanics of this game. If you don't know, the races in this game is a board game mechanic, which means that you start off the race in spot number 1, and you have a decision to make with each of your riders. How many spots do I want to move in this turn? It's turn-based, so you have X amount of turns in a stage depending on the length of the stage. Depending on how much you move during a single turn, you'll either be recovering energy during that turn, or you will be not spending nor recovering anything, or you will spend energy, or you will spend attack points if you really want to try and get away from a group. There's more to that. On the left bottom, we have attributes that define how much we can spend energy during a stage and how much we can attack during a stage. And we've also got recovery, which means that improving this will make your recovery as a rider better in between stages. So that is very, very important for a rider like myself, which is a stage racer. Energy as well. I think attack is the least important thing for us, because while attacking is important at the end of mountain stage and so forth for a GC leader, it is not the most important thing. The most important thing is the consistency throughout stages, making sure that every single day you can be in between the best, and therefore I'm going to try and drop the attack and the attack per turn. Ooh, no, the attack is a bit too much, 15 to 10, so I think I'll keep it at 15, attack per turn 5, and then recovery can go up to 3. There we go. That is exactly how I want my rider to look like in this first season. Anyway, all in all, I think this is the preparation we had to do when it comes to our rider, and now some more preparation when it comes to the actual team is in order because we just have a rider now. One rider. That's not a team. As you can see, we've got so much still to come right here. We have these sponsor goals and so forth to set up, race selection, we have to do fitness planning for our rider and riders, so we need to sign more riders, otherwise we can't do the fitness planning of our riders. And finally, we have to take a look at the financial picture. Does everything fit? Do we have money left to travel from race to race and for the hotels at the races and so forth? So lots of in-depth stuff, and I'm loving it. But first of all, let's go for a simple look at the map of the game right here. This is our fantasy world. We've got Gasmea on the left top, we've got Arcana on the eastern side of that, Daluha on the far east, the Iberian island right there. At the bottom, in the south, we've got Helvetia and Fruinia. So that is the world we are living in. Absolutely love this idea of having a fantasy world in this game in which we can do the races and so forth and get riders from regions and try and build a team from what happens in this world and this world alone. As you can see, next to the flags, you can see the travel and hotel costs. Obviously, Arcana is going to be cheaper for us to fly to because it's much closer, considering it's near our home. Daluha, for example, has a 1 multiplier for both travel and hotels, while Gasmea is bloody hell expensive, 1.40 and 1.30 on hotels. So we got to look into that when it comes to races. Preferably at the start, we can go for more local races to make sure our finances hold up, while at the latter part of this playthrough, we can dive towards the richest of places and spend money like it's bloody nothing to us. At the bottom, we can actually change the view here and add the races per region, which means that we will try and go to as many local races in Arcana as possible, so the ones at the top here, because as I just said, the flight and the hotels are going to be cheaper, so in the first season it's most likely more fitting for us. We can't ride them all though, because next to each race we've got the league that it's in, a mixed league, which is basically, in real cycling we've got World Tour, Pro Conti, and Conti. Mixed League is like Pro Conti in the middle. We've got Amateur League, which is basically Conti, and we've got Pro League, which is basically World Tour. So that's how I view it at least, and my goal is to start off at the bottom, Amateur League, and build our way to the top, and in a few seasons take on the Pro League races. One of the initial steps when it comes to setting up your season is selecting the race you want to go to, but we can't know that if we don't know which type of riders we have. So our first focus will be setting up these sponsor goals to quite simply know what budget we have to spend on the riders. At the top, we can do that, and we've got pathetic ass funding, so that's pretty sad, but hey, it's realistic for a startup team. Next to that, a focus is balanced. I think this is the national versus international races. My focus needs to be on the national ones because I do prefer the national races starting off simple, close to home, compared to going far away already in the first season. Expectations? I don't know. I feel like I want to take average because I don't want to prove that I'm good enough, but am I really? Everything we do when it comes to these sponsor goals influences our finances. Right now, that means that we've got 3.7k left in the bank for the entire season, but yeah, that's not gonna be like that because right now, we're gonna spend some more money on riders, and also, we're gonna select the races we're gonna be riding based on those riders, which will also spend extra money for the travel. Under the team page, we can find this. We've got at the top our team right now. At the bottom, we've got optional riders for the team. So basically, a transfer market. For example, right now, our rider, Benji Nasen, has 3 as a level, 12 is potential. So we can grow like 4 times more what we are right now. Current age is 18, and we are a climber right now, mountain level 1. Next to that, we've got the attributes and the specializations we've selected in the initial part of this playthrough. On the right of that, the salary we're spending on the riders. So exactly the same for the other riders. David Perry, for example, is level 5, but at his max potential at the age of 34. So that shows that he's unlikely to grow from this point onwards, and that his current stats are basically the max that he will get during his career. That does display in his salary. He's only 1,088 salary for a rider that already can bring us results in the first year. That's the concept here. He can be the rider that could lean into the races and actually deliver results while the younger riders in our team grow up and become better over time. So that's why I do find David Perry an interesting signing, and that is why I will actually sign him for the team. A cobble rider to cobble 1 tech and 1 flat stat. So a ruler for the team slash cobble rider seems to be a perfect addition to the team with 90 energy. That is crazy good. Now the exact opposite. Vladislav Pavlov, a rider with currently level 1 out of a potential of 11, 17 years old, a novice rider without any specializations yet. He does not have great stats yet, although his attack is relatively decent. Currently, only 1 recovery and 0 in everything else. His salary, 294. Why will I sign him? Because I'm curious how the game works with potential. Is this rider going to grow up to be 11 every single time if their potential is 11? That's what I'm curious in, and I hope that we can see Pavlov grow this entire season and he'll be our third rider. I do think you need 3 riders to do races in this game, but I'd love to have Thor because, quite simple as that, I want to have the ability of looking into the riders and seeing, oh, this rider fits best to this race, or this rider fits best to that race. And with 3 riders, we just send all 3 to the same race, so we might as well have a 4th one and play with it a bit. One thing I'm personally missing on this page is the nationality of the riders, because I'd love to sign a full Arcanian team right now, because that fits in the local feeling that my team has. Right now, I don't know whether the riders I'm signing are from the region that my team is at, and it would be cool if we could make that a thing. In an ideal world, we've got a super domestique for ourselves, or at least a domestique for ourselves in the mountains, but in all honesty, we've got Albrecht, who is too expensive in my eyes, Ortega as well, despite them being good riders. I find it much more fun to invest in the future and get someone like Denis Tarasov, who's a TT expert right now, and he's only 420, which is the perfect number, and I think he can definitely help out our leader in races, and this way we've got at least someone for time trials to at least have a bit of a dig in them. At the right top, you can see that from the 4.5k funding we had, we now have 2.5k in salaries. We've got 2k left in balance, and that's gonna be spent on hotels and traveling and so forth, because yeah, that's unfortunately pretty expensive as well. Now that we've got our team, the next step is quite simple. We need to make sure that we select the races that we want to send these riders to, and that all happens on this page. Now, as you can see, it looks like a lot of data, but it's not as difficult as it looks. On the screen right now, you've got all the months of the season. We've got the season from February to October, so 10 months of racing. And every single month, you can select one of the 3 races in that month. Now, some of these races have 10 out of 10 in a red box. Now, that means that the race is full. There's no spaces left. So we are not allowed to race in April because there is no race with an open spot left. So we will be racing for 9 of the 10 months, which is probably a good thing because if I do them 10 months, that my riders will be dead by the end of the season. So I think it's a good start. For example, in the first month, February, we have 3 races for the choosing, but the first one, the star list is completely filled. 10 out of 10 teams, so that is not an option. And we have 2 other races left then. The Lenin Grand Prix in Gasmea, which means that the hotels and travel costs for us are going to be higher, 199 travel costs to go to this race. But the race itself is pretty fun. A 4-day stage race, starting off at a mountain stage, then a hilly stage. We've got a flat hilly terrain on day 3, and finally a medium mountain stage with a mountain finish on top at the end. That is a really cool parkour, but a bit more expensive than, for example, the Rolling Hills race, which is 121 travel. I think it's also because it's one day that the hotel costs are going to be less, but it's also a flat hilly parkour. Now, I do find it worthy to go to the Lenin Grand Prix 4 days to try and fight on, and the travel cost is not that insane compared to the Rolling Hills race if we consider that it's 4 days instead of 1. So we're going to Gasmea in our first month for the Lenin Grand Prix. March is interesting because we've got a mixed league race as well as an option. This means that we've got pro teams and amateur teams fighting it out against each other. On that start list, I don't think I can actually do that well, despite the parkour fitting me to the bone. So my choice is going to be the Hills and Valley Tour. We've got 2 hilly parkours and finally a flat hilly terrain in the third stage. This is a amateur league race, which means that it's more on our level. April is quite simple. All races are filled. The start list is full, so we cannot race. In May, we have a choice again, though. We can choose between the Rising Sun Rush, a 1-day flat stage, or the Weisshorn Challenge, which, oh my god, I love it, a mountain stage. That choice is made swiftly. The unfortunate thing is that so far not a single race in our neighborhood, in Arcana itself. In June, we've got two options once again, the Vitessa Spring Open, which is a 4-day stage race, mountain, medium mountain, flat hilly, and mountains. So the terrain fits us really. It is once again in Fruinia, I think. The other option is the Wildau Rhône Tour. I think that I'm gonna go for the Vitessa one because it's basically the same travel costs and hotel, and we've got more mountain stages because I do prefer those with a mountain rider. Not much choice in July then. We've got the Naubot Classic, a hilly mountain terrain, and we have no other choice. It's an amateur league race, so fits us, so that's fine. In August, once again, we do have a different option. We can choose between two races. We've got the Southern Alps Tour, which, oh my god, I want to go to this race. This is going to be a difficult one, though, because it's a mixed league race. Should we do that in the first season? That might be a mistake, to be honest, but we can't do much on the flat terrain either, so this is where a decision has to be made. I think I'm gonna go risky and at least have one race of that level this season, the Southern Alps Tour, because then we can see how weak we actually are compared to the Pro League riders that we are gonna be facing in the future. This is gonna be an interesting experiment, I guess. Last 2 months then, September and October, we once again have to choose a mixed league race, a time trial, mountain time trial, so should still be fun. It's not that big of a deal. And finally, no option again in October, an amateur league, time trial, flat ITT, so something for our Denis Tarasov time trialist. There we go, that's our schedule for this first season. At the top, we have set the sponsor goals earlier on this episode, and this actually applies season objectives to races. Right now, we selected 3 races that are season objectives for the sponsor. The Vitessa Spring Open, for example, has a crosshair around the number next to its name. This means that it is a season objective, but as you can see, the Southern Alps Tour has the same, but the crosshair is much more visible. This means that this is the most important goal together with the Arrow of Timur at the end of the season. So those 2 goals are the most important ones. The Vitessa one is a secondary goal for the sponsor, so that's how our calendar looks. To finalize the entire season setup, we need to do 2 more things. That is selecting the riders for each race. 3 is max, I think, per race. And additionally, we need to apply fitness peaks to the riders. Every rider can have a primary and a secondary fitness peak throughout the season, and that will basically decide where the rider is best throughout the season. In regards to the Lenin Grand Prix in February, I'm gonna send myself, David Perry, and Pavlov. Tarasov can most likely go to the time trial, which is the arrow thingy, also to the chrono, because that's also a time trial. We will also send him to the Southern Alps Tour. There we go. Ourselves to the Alps Tour as well. Ourselves to that chrono as well. I think I'll personally skip the arrow at the latter part of the season because it's basically a fat time trial, so I won't be doing that yet. Unless I get better at time trial, but yeah, we might as well have one race without me in it, to be honest. The Naubot Classic, I'll send myself as well. This is mountainous, send myself, send myself. Hills and Valley Tour, same thing. I'll try and abuse the David Perry guy as much as possible throughout the entire season because, yeah, we bought him so that he can be of service in the first season and have results while the others are growing in the background. So that's exactly why he needs to go to every single race. Hills and Valley Tour then, I think I will be sending Pavlov once again. Wise, I will send Tarasov. Doesn't really matter, neither of them have a mountain stat or anything. I'm just trying to make sure that both of them have a similar amount of races during the season. Vitessa, I will send Pavlov again. Then this guy has 4 races, the other one as well. So now we have to decide who goes to the Naubot Classic. And I think I'll be sending Pavlov to try and get as much experience as possible and get to that 11 potential level. Now we have to apply fitness peaks for each rider, and when it comes to my rider, I think that it's honestly quite difficult to tell you. I think I'll start off by having a low-key fitness peak in the first part of the season, and that is the secondary one for the Lenin Grand Prix because it does have that mountain stage. What I don't like is that it will reduce our form during the Hills and Valley Tour, so that is basically a good reason to send Tarasov there instead of me personally. For the primary one, the Vitessa Spring Open seems to be the candidate that is useful to send myself to in full force. Now bot is not too extreme, so it's not that big of a deal if my rider is not at his top level during that race. I will still go there though because it does fit me better than Tarasov and Pavlov both. But when it comes to the other riders, I think the fitness peak of Tarasov needs to be either the chrono or the arrow. I think the arrow is the one that needs to be primary because, quite simple as that, that man is a time trialist and does not have a mountain stat. So he fits better on a flat time trial like the arrow of Timur. When it comes to the secondary objective for Tarasov, I think putting it on March is the best thing to do because then the bad form does not affect any racing, as it will fall in April where we don't have races. Pavlov can honestly do exactly the same, and I'll have his major fitness peak sitting somewhere around. Vitessa would be nice, or Neubad. I think I'll do Neubad because of the same thing. Then he's both in form low-key for the Vitessa Spring Open, and he's also decent for the Naubad Classic because then he'll be at his peak. Final rider then, David Perry. I think what I'll do is I'll put him on secondary fitness peak as well in March for the same exact reason as the others. And what I'll do is I'll remove him from the Mountain Chrono in September, and I will put Pavlov in that race because this man might be a ruler, but he does not have that time trial stat. So I will be putting a major fitness peak on the Southern Alps Tour then. Then the bad form falls into a spot where he does not have a race planned. Can we do the same for ourselves here? I think I will still keep me in the Nobot Classic despite being in bad form because I think I'm the better option. There we go, the preseason checklist is completely fulfilled. Our 6 items on it on the left top. Our season 1 is ready to be started. And here we are then, ready to start the first race of the season, the Lenin Grand Prix, a 4-day stage race. But I'm afraid that's gonna be for next time. I really enjoyed setting up the season in this first episode. Lots of preparation, but very fun preparation to be honest. I really enjoyed this, and I hope that we can dive into these races next time and hopefully set up a decent performance in this first race. So yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, then tap that like button. If you didn't, tell me what's wrong and I'll try and make it better for you next time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.